billion-dollar retail behemoth that appeared too good to be true until it ran into problems that ultimately led to its inevitable downfall. Bed Bath & Beyond was everywhere. Endless shelves, endless products, kitchen appliances, towels, lamps, coffee makers, storage containers, and entire aisles filled with things people didn't even think they needed. But the one thing that made the company special was a psychological trick that worked so well that millions of Americans opened their mailboxes to find the same thing waiting for them: a small blue coupon. It sounded simple, forgettable even, but over time those coupons eventually grew into something much bigger than just a marketing campaign. They became a habit. Consumers stopped asking what they wanted and started asking whether they had a coupon for it. And for a while, it worked perfectly. Bed Bath & Beyond exploded across America throughout the 1990s, and by 1999, it had opened its 200th store and crossed $1 billion in annual sales. Wall Street loved them. Customers loved them. The coupons kept people coming back again, and again, and again. But hidden underneath that success was a problem the company did not fully realize until it was too late. The story began in 1971, when two men named Warren Eisenberg and Leonard Feinstein, who had previously worked at a struggling discount store chain called Arlen's, believed the future of retail was no longer giant general stores. It was specialty stores. So they left and opened a small store in Springfield, New Jersey called Bed & Bath. At first, the concept was simple: focus entirely on home goods. Instead of selling everything, they specialized, and it worked. The business grew rapidly throughout the 1980s, competing with large chains like Linens and Things. By 1985, Eisenberg and Feinstein had expanded to 18 locations across New York and California, including their first superstore. And in 1987, the company officially changed its name to Bed Bath & Beyond, a name designed to reflect the massive expansion in inventory. The company truly exploded in the 1990s. In 1991 alone, Bed Bath & Beyond opened 7 new superstores across New Jersey, California, Virginia, Illinois, Maryland, and Florida. 1 year later, the company went public on the NASDAQ stock exchange. Then, in 1993, management implemented integrated computer-based inventory systems to compete more effectively with rivals like Linens and Things. The growth became unrelenting. In 1996, the company opened its 100th store in Irvine, California. Less than 3 years later, it opened its 200th store in Palm Beach Gardens, Florida. And by 1999, Bed Bath & Beyond crossed $1 billion in annual sales for the first time. At first glance, the company appeared to be unstoppable. But underneath that expansion was a strategy that quietly reshaped consumer behavior across the United States. The coupon. Specifically, the famous blue 20% off coupon. For decades, millions of Americans received those coupons directly in their mailboxes, and at first the strategy was an enormous success. The psychology behind it was simple. Customers came into the store for one discounted item, then bought several more products at full price. The coupons drove massive traffic into stores, and for a while, the system appeared unstoppable. But underneath that success, something started going wrong. Over time, customers stopped treating the coupons as promotions and started seeing them as the actual price. Why pay full price when another coupon would probably arrive next week? And for years, Bed Bath & Beyond unintentionally reinforced that behavior. Expired coupons were often still accepted. There were very few restrictions. Customers expected discounts. They knew the 20% coupon would almost always work. Entire generations of shoppers became psychologically conditioned to never shop there without a coupon, and that created a dangerous long-term problem. Because retail margins were already extremely thin, every 20% discount chipped away at profitability. But by that point, the company could no longer stop. The coupons had become the main reason customers kept coming into stores, and whenever the company tried reducing them, sales quickly weakened. Bed Bath & Beyond's same-store sales fell due to fewer redemptions of its once popular coupons, while the company also struggled with growing competition from rival retailers. One analyst summarized the psychological problem perfectly. People had been trained to look for them. After the internet gained widespread use in the 1990s, e-commerce emerged and completely changed the retail industry. Massive superstores felt revolutionary in the 1990s. But online, Every business had an endless amount of shelf space. While retailers like Target and Walmart greatly improved their home goods divisions, consumers could instantly compare prices, and businesses like Amazon started to dominate convenience, logistics, and even pricing. Bed Bath & Beyond was suddenly under pressure from all sides. Rather than taking the lead in e-commerce early on, the company chose to continue relying largely on physical traffic and coupon-based shopping habits. Although Bed Bath & Beyond continued to condition the behavior, internal issues were beginning to surface. The company's leadership was openly criticized in 2019 by activist investment groups, Legion Partners, Macellum Advisors, and Ancora Advisors. They pointed out questionable acquisitions related to familial ties within the company and accused management of poor business practices and performance. 5 independent directors resigned as a result of the extreme pressure. Longtime CEO Stephen Tamares stepped down in 2019 as management concluded that the existing promotional strategy was damaging profits. In late 2019, the company recruited Mark Tritton, a former executive at Target, as its new CEO. His mission was simple: modernize the company and reduce its dependence on coupons. Bed Bath & Beyond started mailing fewer promotions, tightening coupon restrictions, pushing private label brands, and redesigning stores. At the same time, Tritton was brought in while the retailer struggled to compete in a retail environment increasingly dominated by e-commerce. And that detail was important because it showed the company trying to look better on paper while removing the exact reason many customers came there in the first place. Then the pandemic hit in 2020. Supply chains broke down. The rate of inflation increased. Additionally, the company's financial condition worsened. In July 2020, Bed Bath & Beyond announced that it would close around 200 stores, or about 21% of its total stores. The business started aggressively selling off subsidiaries throughout 2020 and 2021. One Kings Lane, Christmas Tree Shops, Cost Plus World Market. Assets that had formerly represented expansion were liquidated for survival, but the decline continued. In March 2022, activist investor Ryan Cohen entered the picture. Cohen encouraged the board to consider selling or spinning off Bye Bye Baby, one of the company's few remaining valuable assets. The chain's fortunes declined because of its push toward private label products, while the pandemic, supply chain constraints, and consumer pullback caused by high inflation negatively impacted sales. Following a 25% decline in first quarter net sales, Mark Tritton was replaced in June 2022 by Sue Gove as interim CEO. Just 1 month later, the company announced that 20% of its corporate staff would be laid off and another 150 stores would close, while forecasting a 26% decline in same-store sales. By that point, shelves in many stores became noticeably emptier. Vendors were worrying about unpaid shipments, and above all, debt had continued growing. In September 2022, the company's CFO, Gustavo Arnal, died after jumping from his New York apartment building while facing legal and financial pressure surrounding the company. The story evolved from a retail failure to a public corporate catastrophe. Then 2023 arrived. In January, Bed Bath & Beyond warned investors that there was substantial doubt the business could survive. Its shares fell by nearly 30% in a single day. Banks started reducing credit lines and more stores were shut down. In an attempt to avoid bankruptcy, the company pursued nearly $1 billion in emergency financing deals. However, it wasn't enough. On April 23, 2023, following years of declining sales, growing debt, unsuccessful turnaround efforts, and collapsing customer traffic, Bed Bath & Beyond filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy after failing to secure enough funding to stay afloat. The retailer, which had shot to popularity in the 1990s, faced declining demand while its store brand strategy failed. The company's debts reached a total of $5.2 billion. At the time of filing, 360 Bed Bath & Beyond stores and 120 Bye Bye Baby locations remained temporarily open. Only a few days after filing for bankruptcy, Bed Bath & Beyond announced that it would no longer accept its famous coupons, the same coupons that had originally helped build the empire. And even during liquidation, customers continued asking, "Can I use them one last time?" Rewards and coupons officially expired on April 26th, and in the end, the same strategy that once helped the company dominate American retail became the exact same strategy it could never escape. If you enjoy deep dives into business, money, and learning about the systems around how businesses operate, subscribe to Bold Base Originals.